Welcome to Unapologetic and Free. I'm Sharnae.
I'm Lakia.
We're sisters by blood
and friends by choice.
So today our topic is going to be gaslighting. But before we get started, we always have a segment that we talk about, what are you watching? So what are you watching?
So what am I watching is actually nothing. So over the last week, I can't say that I've really watched anything as it relates to a TV show. The most recent thing that I can think of that I watched was Dateline, NBC, like 2020. I watched like the recent episodes of that, maybe 2 or 3 of those from this year. So that's fairly new. I did watch a movie though. I watched the movie on Disney called Turning Red.
Yay!
So that was very interesting. That was a really good movie, but I really just have not had time this week to watch anything. I haven't been home.
That's a good thing. That means you out of the house, you know, but you weren't spending no money though, right?
That I can recall.
Okay. Well, normally I have been watching a lot of stuff because I'm off. I'm on summer break, but I'm going to just tell one show that I'm actually watching, and it is on Stars. It's called Ambitions. Yeah, Ambitions. And it has Robin Givens in it. And then it has, I think his name is Brian White. And so it's all Black cast. Actually, you know what? It's all people of color.
There we go. There we go.
So I'm trying to get, politically correct people of color. So it's very interesting. It's only one season right now, but I'm hooked. And all I can say is that I don't like Robin Givens' character, but she doing very well with it.
What is it on? What network?
Stars.
Okay, so I can watch it if I get a chance.
Yes, if you get a chance, which is...
JLP Pleasing Barbecue Sauce is a proud sponsor of Unapologetic and Free. JLP Pleasing Barbecue Sauce offers 14 flavors ranging from mild to hot, hot, hot. They also offer sugar-free options. They've got 5 keto-friendly sugar-free options. Visit them online at www.jpsoulfoodkitchen.com. Again, that's www.jpsoulfoodkitchen.com. Welcome our podcast listeners, because we have now transitioned from not just the YouTube channel, not just the Facebook watch, but also to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor FM. And so again, we just want to welcome all of our listeners, however you are viewing this or however you may be listening to this.
Tell your friends, tell your friends, tell your friends.
Share. Unapologetic and Free talk show. And so I know before we get started, again, I know we talked about that we're going to be doing gaslighting, and I am particularly excited about this topic. I have been wanting to do it for a while. Just as a psychology major, I thought we would take this time to kind of, talk about our educational background. And so for me, I do have a bachelor's degree in applied psychology. And one of the things I love about psychology is just understanding things, learning about why people do what they do, and just the study of the mind. And so again, gaslighting is something that I kind of touched on a little bit in school, but again, I'm just interested in this topic. So again, I'm glad we're doing it. What is your educational background?
My educational background is I have a master's in special education. So again, that's working with students with disabilities, or now I did a professional development, and I like the term differently abled.
Differently abled.
Differently abled as opposed to a student with a disability. So, right. Now, that anything with, especially coming out of COVID, everything is about mental health, self-care. And so gaslighting is one of those words, that falls underneath that narcissistic personality disorder, that NPD. So, on our Facebook timeline. I know mine, it was people, oh, she's a narcissist or he's a narcissist. And you're like, so that was the buzzword. So when you said, hey, let's talk about it, I was like, yes, it's going to be exciting. All right. So like always, we have a flow, and you normally touch on a topic from the adults, and I touch on a topic from the child aspect or the parenting aspect. So let's get into it. What is gaslighting?
And y'all know we like to do the textbook definitions.
And so I did Webster's dictionary. So Webster dictionary: to psychologically manipulating a person, usually over an extended period, so that the victim questions the validity of their thoughts, perception of reality, or memories and experiences, confusing, loss of confidence and self-esteem, and doubts concerning their own emotional or mental stability. To subject someone to gaslighting.
Wow. So manipulation is really what I hear in the gist of that definition. It still kind of boils down to manipulation. Do you know where, though, the term itself, gaslighting or gaslight, even came from or originated? Because, at studying, I'm like, what is this? Where did it come from? Do you know?
No, I don't. So help me out.
All right. So the term gaslighting actually comes from a 1938 play called Gaslight, which was turned into a more widely known movie in 1944 called Gaslight, where a husband manipulates his wife to make her think she's actually losing her sense of reality so he can commit her to a mental institution and steal her inheritance.
What?
Yes. So this is where it, and again, that's why it stems in the definitions and the meanings are to manipulate, because the whole point was he was trying to convince his wife that she was crazy just so he could get her in a mental institution so he could get her money.
And this is a play.
And this started out as a play that then turned into a movie. They turned it into a movie. And look at how old, 1944. So that's how far back this term actually goes. And it's like the first time really in the last year or so, I feel like, because even if in school we may have briefly touched on it, I'm sure we touched on it. But I just feel like more now it's been coming up more than I've ever heard it before.
And that's because, again, we just came out of, COVID 2020. Everybody was indoors for months, and couples were having to quarantine together where they probably wasn't even used to, probably spending 1 or 2 days together. But some couples were like, I have a friend now who's in China, and her boyfriend have been just got out of lockdown for 7 months where they could not leave their apartment. So during that time, so many people were developing, or it's not that they were developing, it's just that their mental issues were being magnified, or they were basically having to, these triggers of being indoors.
Right. I can see that. And now, as you were talking, as I was thinking like even more about why did I start to pay so much attention to it, is because when I started listening and doing the research on it, even prior to doing the show, I realized that in my previous relationship, I had experienced that. Like there was so many times where I was like, I know I'm not crazy, but there was things that were happening, right? And I was being made to feel like I was crazy, like I couldn't remember, like I just didn't know what was going on. And I've said this before, like there was times where I felt like, oh my God, like why are these things happening? Like I can't explain this. It's just like, why can't I explain it, right? And so then it goes back to the manipulation and knowing once I came out of that situation, just how much my ex-husband was manipulating me and doing certain things to make me think. Now, again, with any anything that we talk about and with anything as it relates to kind of mental health and any type of mental abuse, right? It's always the intention that makes it in a negative connotation, right? So intentionally manipulating, because that's what I want to make sure we convey here. Before we get too deep into this, is that what makes it the gaslighting is the intention to manipulate. So even in the play, the guy was purposely trying to make her think she was crazy so he could get the inheritance. Because when we start touching on some things, you might feel like that's happened to me before. You might feel like you've done it, but it's still, you got to remember the intent. Was your intent to manipulate? Was that other person's intent to intentionally manipulate you?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's good. That's really good. All right, so I'm gonna move on, and we are going to talk about gaslighting as a parent.
Woo.
Okay, so gaslighting as a parent. Here are some signs of gaslighting as a parent, and it was an article that I found by Stacy Coleon, and it was medically reviewed by Jean Kim, which is an MD. And it was on psycom.net 2022. So this is recent. All right. 1, a parent might tell a child, "You're not hungry, you're tired," when they beg for a snack in a grocery store. 2, the parent might say, "You're being too sensitive," when a child complains at a sibling hurt their feelings. So now, as a parent, I found myself doing both of these, but not really. I didn't.
Now, come on. Let's be real. In that first scenario, be truthful. 9 times out of 10, the reason you said you're not hungry, you're tired was why? Because you did either A, you just didn't want to buy them nothing. 2, maybe you didn't have enough money to buy them what they wanted. So you don't want to tell your kid you don't have the money. So I'm going to just tell you you tired instead of telling you you hungry, right?
You just saw it because you wanted it because you saw it. We at the grocery store.
Okay, but to tell the child you're not hungry, you tired? Come on. Now, and again, I'm not saying that it was gaslighting or not, but I'm just like, that could go either way. But I believe 9 times out of 10 as parents, we're gaslighting our kids because we just don't want them to have it. We don't want to buy it.
Right. You're right. So it says, gaslighting may occur when a parent criticizes a child, but couches it as an expression of caring or emotional support, leaving the child to question their reaction. Likewise, it can happen when a parent insists that a child's memory of a particular event isn't how it happened.
Steve.
So I think about a movie that it was called, the movie where the mom had the Munchausen syndrome and she was trying to make her child sick.
I know what you're talking about, and I watched it, and it was only one season. It was on Hulu.
Yes.
I can't think of what the name of it's called, but
right. But she was basically, gaslighting her and making her real, think like she was younger than what she knew she, was. Right. And so it's kind of like what it says here. She's trying to couch it or make it as if, she's caring for her. Oh no, this is an expression of my love for you. This is not what you think it is. This is what I do to show you how I care.
Right. I often, and as you're talking, I feel like those times when you yell at your kid and you try to make them say, "Oh, I'm yelling at you because I love you," right? But you can show love in other ways, right? We're gaslighting them by saying, "Oh, okay, I'm yelling at you. I'm really mad, but I want to make you think I'm yelling at you because I love you." Yes, we love our kids, but again, we can show love and not yell at them because truthfully, again, because back to intent, The truth is we're angry, we upset, and we could be bothered about something that don't even have nothing to do with them, right? But again, we tell them, oh, I'm yelling at you and I'm doing all this because I love you and because I want the best for you and because I don't want nothing to happen to you. But again, is that really the reason?
Right. And then it goes to it starting at home, because everything we learn, home is our first school, correct?
Correct.
So now we carry that as we get older. So the only way we believe somebody loves us is if they're yelling at us, or they care about us because they're, yelling and screaming. Because when we were kids, our parents said, oh, I'm only doing this because I love you, not realizing you're actually emotionally, mentally harming me.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So types of gaslighting in families. In the family environment, there are three primary types of gaslighting. So the first one, narrative gaslighting, in which a child might remember things a certain way and the parent changes the story and tries to convince the child it happened their way. So again, narrative, we know both of us, has to do with the story, and we all know what happened in the story. So when you try to get somebody, you say, no, that's not what happened. It happened this way. And the kid is like, no, or a person. It don't even have to be a kid. The person's like, that's not how I remembered it. Oh no, remember that is.
Right.
So they try to force you to remember, right. And then you start doubting, like, well, maybe it did happen that way, but.
And then I feel like the kids is really like, no. And that's when your kids is giving you this side eye, like, I know, and and depending on the respect level of your child, they might not say it to you, but they like, that is not how it really happened.
2, emotional gaslighting, in which a parent reacts to a child as though their feelings are wrong or don't make sense when they do, which is problematic because our feelings are very close to our sense of self.
Okay.
Can you think of an example of an emotional gaslighting with that definition?
Say it again.
Parent reacts to a child as though their feelings are wrong or don't make sense.
Yep.
Which is problematic.
What? Absolutely. Like when our kids or my child cries and I tell them, it ain't no reason for you to be crying. Like, why are you crying about that? Like, it's not that serious. Like, you don't need to cry. And so absolutely, I'm like, no, don't cry. Why are you crying? So that's what I think of when you said that.
Or I was thinking of too, we do this, like say your kid no, you know what? No, I'm gonna talk about me. If I stump my toe and I'm crying because it hurt, and then my partner tells me, shake it off. Everybody stumps their toe. You're not the first and you're not gonna be the last.
It ain't gonna kill you.
It don't hurt that.
Absolutely.
All right, the last one, personal gaslighting, is whereby a parent undermines a child's sense of capacity or trust in him or herself. This is often the most insidious form because it manipulates you to think that what you know about yourself is not true. It also undermines your self-esteem and trust in yourself.
Okay, so that's kind of like where they feel like they can handle something and you're trying to convince them that they can't. You're trying to tell them not that they can't trust their own instincts of whatever they're feeling or not feeling, right? Because you are just, for whatever reason, right? Because again, and I don't know if in gaslighting, if people know what their reasons are. Usually they know what their reasons are because when you manipulate somebody, right, you know what you're trying to get out of that person. Or,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? So when you manipulate, I'm trying to do this on purpose because I'm trying to get your money, or I'm trying to get you to buy me this, or I'm trying to get you to do this or go there. And so I know what my end game is when I'm trying to manipulate you. So.
And again, too, I think also too with it is where I know I did something to you, but I don't want you to do what I did. So I try to make it seem like you're overreacting. It's not as bad as it really is. But it's like, no, you did this. Oh no, I don't remember doing that. You tripping, or you must got me confused with somebody else.
Right.
No, I was talking to you. It happened with you.
Right. So do you think, since we're talking about kids and the mind, as far as things that they do to intentionally gaslight parents, but of course they wouldn't know that it's gaslighting, but in the basic sense of trying to manipulate us, I can think of times when I was a kid and I told my mom or dad that they said I could go somewhere that they never said I could go. I'm like, no, remember I asked you. And so the manipulation, the intent was I was trying to go where I wanted to go. Right. And so I told my parents, oh, yes, you said that. And I give them all these details that aren't true to try to get them to remember that they really said something that they didn't say.
And I already know with us, when they was talking on the phone, that was the easiest time when they was distracted to pull that. Because then you don't even know what conversation you was having. So absolutely, that is a form of gaslighting
that kids do to parents.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, and it's so cool that we're talking about this, because again, today I was doing a professional development about SEL, which is social emotional learning. And it was talking about a lot of times people don't have the emotional language or the emotional words to really express what it is that they're feeling. So it's not only just kids, it's adults as well, that we have to start building up that emotional language. Okay. Now, with that, how do you heal if you've encountered being gaslighted, or you are a person that gaslights?
I feel like before we talk about the healing process, I want to look at some signs. So it says how to spot gaslighting. Six things that gaslighters say to manipulate you. And so again, this is from the adult perspective on what adults say to one another. And let me see, this article was written by Ashley Latter. This was about a year ago, and it's from the Insider.
Okay.
And so number one, it says, that never happened. Gaslighting often causes the victim to doubt themselves, right? So someone will do or say something abusive and then deny that it happened. So that's one of the signs of gaslighting, or that somebody's gaslighting you, is if they say that never happened. And you know strongly they said that, or you know strongly they did that, but they're telling you, oh no, that never happened.
Okay.
Number two, you're too sensitive. This phrase is used by gaslighters to minimize and invalidate the victim's feelings. So we talked about a little bit of that already, right? Not validating the feelings and saying, oh, it's not that bad, right? You're too sensitive. You're just overreacting. And even saying it like, again, there was times in my current early on in the marriage, I want to say I've said things like that. Oh, you're sensitive. Now, again, going back to intent, I don't feel like I was intentionally trying to manipulate. It was, if anything, maybe the unconscious was manipulating to get my partner to see my point, or to see my side. Or here's the thing too, when we talk about the intent, is to be right. So, oh, you just too sensitive. Like, oh no, so just for the sake of being able to say whatever we were arguing about or whatever we were talking about, I want to be right. So I'm gonna just say, oh, you just too sensitive. It wasn't all that.
Now, from my side, because the term is not too, I don't hear you're too sensitive, you're just being too sensitive. I hear the term you're acting strange. And it's like, no, I'm trying to get you to understand or to see, but it's, oh, you're acting strange, or you acting different.
I was gonna say another way of saying you acting different, right?
Right.
And so do we feel like sometimes that's the tactic of you just acting different? Ain't nothing wrong with me. You the one acting different. You're, again, back to you're seeing it wrong. That never happened. It ain't what you think it is. You the one tripping. You acting strange. You're acting different. So again, it's not taking any responsibility. And again, making it seem like you're the crazy one, because it still goes back to that. Like all of these, that end thing still leaves you feeling like I'm crazy. It's like, oh, I'm just crazy for feeling this way, or I'm just crazy for thinking that when I know I'm not crazy.
Right. And you're the only one that sees it that way.
Oh, maybe I haven't got to that yet. I think that's one of the 6.
Oh, okay.
So the next one, number 3, you have a terrible memory. So this is another common phrase gaslighters use to make victims doubt themselves. Of course, everybody experiences trouble with recalling certain details, but they say gaslighters will make their victims doubt their memory as a whole, spanning a multitude of situations. So just you wrong, that never happened. Not just one thing, but like a spanning of it. Like it never happened. You have a terrible memory. You can't remember stuff. And I've been in relationships and conversations where I felt like people have said that, oh, you have a terrible memory. You don't remember nothing. I'm like, no, I specifically remember blah, 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 blah. Like, you can't say I don't remember.
Or they'll just say, you never told me that. You just, and I would much rather you say, I don't remember versus telling me you never told me.
That's how I am too.
I remember telling you.
Because it's so absolute when you just say, I never did. And it's like, you never is almost like 100% perfect. And it's saying, I never did. Let's just say, I don't remember if you did, so I'm like that too. I don't like when people say I just never said it. Like you can just 100% absolutely say without a shadow of a doubt, I never said, and maybe I never did. But the point is, maybe
I didn't say it like that. Maybe I said it a different way though.
Right.
But you get the gist of what I said. I know I said it. I might not have said those exact words, but I said it probably a different way.
Right. Number 4, you're crazy and other people think so too.
Oh.
On top of making victims experience doubt, gaslighters may even make their victims question their own sanity. You're crazy and other people think you're crazy. That's another sign of what people say when they're gaslighting you.
Right. So that was what I said when you were like, hold up, that might be. Yeah, that is, it was just worded differently.
Right. Number 5, I'm sorry you think that I hurt you. While this statement might seem like an apology, it isn't. Instead, they say that this is a way for an abuser to deflect responsibility and blame the victim. And so I really do have to raise my hand on this one and say there are definitely times when, and I'm not even going to sugarcoat it, based on what we've discussed thus far, I was gaslighting because I was saying, I'm sorry you think that I hurt you, because I did not want to take responsibility for what I did or what I said. And therefore, I'm like, well, I'm sorry that you think I hurt you. Like, because you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's still making it think it's you the problem, not me. Because I don't want to be the problem. I didn't want to see that I was the problem, and I wasn't going to allow it. So everything I was saying, and when I use this, is to make it you're the problem,
it's
not
a you
me.
Problem, not a me problem.
Yeah. So I can definitely say intent and all that I've said this and intentionally was trying to manipulate somebody.
Okay. Any more on your list?
Yes. Number 6. You should have known how I would react. This is another way an abuser will deflect responsibility onto the victim. This can make the victim feel guilty or hurt about a situation where they really didn't do anything wrong. So they didn't even do anything wrong, but it's when you say you should have known how I would react. You should have known that that was going to make me upset. Like you should have known that you couldn't have did that, or that I was going to be hurt or whatever. Like they're a mind reader.
You know what this brings me back to? Remember when we were talking about the cheating episode, and you were saying that you didn't even know that Facebook was considered
cheating, right? Looking up somebody's profile, right?
And you were told, well, you should have knew that.
I should have known how they were going to react. I should have known that was that way, even though we didn't have the conversation, right? But then it says gaslighting involves twisting facts so that they can avoid personal ownership of their behavior. By telling the victim they should have known better, the gaslighter places the blame on the victim for not only speaking up, but also the abuser's response, right? So now you blaming me for speaking up, and then I'm for not knowing how you were going to respond to whatever happened or whatever I said or did.
Or do you think the person who is speaking up to the person that was gaslighting them, and then that person says nothing, is another form of continuing the gaslighting?
I think so, because it's not validating, right? Like we've read, they said it invalidates the victim's feelings and just feelings alone, right? Where we say you can't, and I just saw this recently where it said, if you can't tell somebody their feelings aren't valid, meaning if somebody say you hurt them, that's what it was. When somebody tells you you hurt them, you can't tell them that you didn't. Because you can't tell somebody what hurts them and what doesn't. Only that person knows what hurt them or not. So whether you feel like you hurt the other person, you don't have a say in it, because it's my feelings.
That's what I experienced. That's what I processed. That's
right. When they say, oh, that didn't hurt, that didn't bother you. How can you say that? You don't know. You can't, that's telling me how to feel. When you don't have control over how other people feel. And we have to just allow them that space to say, you hurt me. And not try to defend whether you hurt them or not. That's not even the issue. Talk about why do I feel like you hurt me? What did you say or do to make me feel like it? Now, again, even in that, what you obviously said or did something. If we can establish that you said it, and again, your intent may not have been to hurt me, but what you said hurt my feelings, and this is why, or whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, in this whole gaslighting is that it just goes back to not wanting to take the responsibility for whatever reason. Again, whether it's intentional or again, we're talking about a mental health. Gaslighting is a mental illness, right? Not illness, but it's in the mind. And again, you have to be a behavior, right? And so you need therapy.
Let's call it a behavior. Yeah.
So now we can go ahead and get into how do you heal from gaslighting when you're the victim. Yes, but I want to ask before we get to the victim, when you recognize that you are the gaslighter or the narcissist. Because I watched a show, I don't know now, maybe last year, where they were talking about narcissists, and the psychologist on there was saying you can't even heal from that.
I think we watched that same one, and you're
absolutely say on this show what it was, but yes.
I'm sorry, what?
I just don't want to say on this show what other show we watch.
Oh, I got you.
Yes. But yeah, they were saying, you can't even heal from that. I mean,
there's no cure for it.
Yes.
There's no cure for it. All you can do is identify when you're doing it and stop it.
So while you keep talking, I'm going to look it up and see if they say there's a cure for gaslighting. I'm going to put in, can you be cured from gaslighting? Well, what are your thoughts on the healing on the victim side? What kind of things or what steps would they or should they take?
Okay. Yeah, you go ahead and you research that. Okay. So it falls back into pretty much what we've already talked about. Number one, name it, call it what it is, and accept that it happened. Tell yourself, I was gaslighted, accept it and claim it so it does not have any power over you anymore. So when you recognize that you have been gaslighted, you need to come to terms with it and really realize like, okay, no, it wasn't me. I experienced exactly what I thought I experienced.
Okay.
2, allow space to mourn that it happened to you. Once you realize you were gaslighted, you have to forgive yourself for allowing it to happen when you knew better.
Absolutely.
Okay. 3, move on. Do not continue to carry emotional baggage.
Let it go. Let it go.
You know the person who said it better, I can't sing, so I'm not even gonna try. Was Miss Erica Badu said it best. Bag lady, you gonna hurt your back. Dragging all them bags like that. I guess nobody ever told you all you must do is hold on is to you. One day, all them bags gonna get in your way. So let it go. Put down the bags. Do not carry that emotional baggage into your next, you know, don't carry it forward with you. Number 4, rebuild your self-trust. You have to establish a working relationship with your intuition or the spirit within you, because we gaslight ourselves sometimes. What do you think about that? Gaslighting yourself.
I think it's possible. I think it would be hard to spot though in yourself. It's hard to spot when somebody else is doing it to you. So
we know that we talked about that gaslighting is a form of manipulating by somebody else, right? So I think when I think of gaslighting myself, is me doubting myself is a form of gaslighting myself.
Or saying, oh, you don't really like, that's not the right way to feel. Like, why are you crying? Like, you're not supposed to be crying right now. And again, instead of giving yourself permission to just cry or have whatever emotion you have at the time. That's good.
That's all I got. Did you find something?
Yeah, let me just go back to this part. So it says, a gaslighting spouse or partner may either refuse to go to therapy. So that's the thing. You can change if you are willing to go to therapy. And then they go and they attend, y'all can attend together. It also says, this one says a gaslighter can change. Typically, they learned their behaviors from previous relationships. So it only makes sense that these can be unconditioned. But again, it has to be wanted. Like you have to want to change. Right? You first of all have to recognize that you are manipulating people, you are gaslighting. And then again, you have to acknowledge and want to go get the help, the therapy to change it. Because again, as a behavioralist, if we can learn bad behavior, then we can unlearn or we can train ourselves with healthy behaviors once we recognize and identify that this is a bad behavior that we should not be taking part in.
And then again, it boils down to, like you said, you can't make somebody see that they have a problem. Again, they have to acknowledge that they have a problem. Just like you can't make somebody see that they right or make somebody see that they were wrong in a situation.
Right.
But most gaslight, they gonna stand firmly in whatever it is that they believe, okay?
And had I never encountered my ex-husband, I don't know that I would believe that people really were intentional. Like, had I not ever encountered him, like prior to encountering him, I didn't live in a world where I would have thought that that would have happened or even would have been exposed to somebody intentionally manipulating me, because that's just where I was. Like, I was naive. And I've said it before, like prior to, I was just naive. And sometimes I like to call it giving people the benefit of the doubt. Some people might say, yes, naive, but I say I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. But again, and so prior to going through that experience, I don't know that I would have ever been aware, right? Obviously, I probably could, but I just feel like because I lived through it, this term just became more relevant for me and more of something that I was interested in, and more now of ways that unconsciously, consciously, that I'm trying to be aware, and then self-examining, right? Because again, making sure you're not the gaslighter, checking yourself and watching your motives, right? Because a lot of what we do on Unapologetic and Free is self-help, right? Is to educate ourselves, is to be aware, right, of what different things. And once we become aware, I'm going to use the term, I've been using your term, information plus application equals transformation, right? You told me you heard that, and I've been on that, because again, information with no application is just information, and you just full of information, and so good, you're not doing nothing with it. But we get this information so we can apply it, so that a transformation can take place in our lives, or so that we don't adopt behaviors that we may not have been aware of had we not done the research and got the information to do it, right?
Because again, we've talked about this before. The information is out there. You just gotta look for it again and want to. When you know better, you do better.
That's right.
You know, so I'm thankful that again, this just stems from different conversations that we have with each other, that we hold each other accountable for the stuff that we do know, or if we don't know, okay, let's find out about it.
Right. You got anything else?
I don't.
So I would like to take a moment, Let me show my shirt. Let me move my mic here and just give a shout out to our sponsors, y'all. Our sponsor, faithful sponsor, JP Soul Food Kitchen and Catering. They make JLP Pleasin' barbecue sauce, offering 14 flavors, 5 sugar-free. jpsoulfoodkitchen.com. You can order online. We ship. I say we because that is my husband and my business. And so I'm just grateful that I have a business that can also support Unapologetic and Free. I have put it out there. If you're interested in being a sponsor, right now we're doing free sponsorships. There's just some things we want you to do, but it won't cost you anything in order to be a sponsor. Right. And so again, just want to thank you guys for listening, for tuning in, for watching, for enjoying and partaking in our conversation that we have. And again, we plan to continue to do this as often as we can. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Unapologetic and Free Talk Show, Instagram, Unapologetic and Free Talk Show.
What's the TikTok?
Unapologetic and Free Talk Show. I try to make everything kind of stay the same. But again, as always, even after this podcast, we will make sure we put the information so you can get it on the YouTube channel, on the Facebook. We put all of that information on there so that you can reach out to us.
Also, go follow us and listen to us. If you know the Facebook and the YouTube and the TikTok is not your thing, if you just want to be rolling around in your vehicle or sit in your office and you just miss our voices, go and subscribe on Spotify.com. And we're also on Apple Podcasts. And we're also on anchor.fm, where you can go and listen to the podcast. Thank you again so much for supporting us and the love that you give us by sharing this with your friends and family. We look forward to interacting with you guys online.
Thank you so much.